Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall.
Good morning, and if I could welcome members and officers here at City Hall and in the public, either here in the gallery or watching on the webcast, to today's meeting of the GLA Oversight Committee. If I could remind participants to turn off your phones and make sure that they're not sitting in front of your microphones. Members can also, just to make sure that everything's on silent, other than when you are speaking into the microphone. Can I also ask the clerk, Judith Smith, to confirm any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. No apologies for absence today.
Thank you. Moving on to declarations of interest, can we note the list of offices held by Assembly members? And can I also ask members if they have any disclosable pecuniary interests in specific items listed in today's agenda? Thank you. Summary list of actions. Can we note the completed and ongoing actions arising from previous meetings of the GLA Oversight Committee and any additional correspondence received? And we come on to our substantial item for today's meeting, and that is a question and answer session with London and Partners. So if I could just first of all welcome our two guests here, Laura Citron, who is the Chief Executive of London Partners, and Michelle Cuomo-Bora, who is the Managing Director of Strategy at London and Partners. So welcome to both of you. Before we start with the questions, opportunity, Laura, for yourself just to give a few a short introductory statement.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you for inviting us here today. It's actually great to be here. We haven't been to this committee since 2021, so really looking forward to having an opportunity to talk about our work, because obviously a lot has changed since then. So thank you for your interest and for giving us time on your agenda. Thanks also for the growing number of MQs. We genuinely really appreciate your interest, and at the last MQs, we had a group of our colleagues who all chose to come along and watch because they wanted to sort of see how things work at the Assembly. So thank you. And also to Assembly members McCartney and Hirani, Turrell, Small-Edwards, Moema, Garrett, Clark and Wilson, who've all spent time with us over the last year or so, meeting businesses, being part of our programme, supporting our work. And we really appreciate when Assembly members do that, and you're all always very, very welcome to come along and spend time with us, because hopefully it helps your scrutiny work to see the work that we do in real life. So I understand our conversation today is about whether London and Partners is good value for money for London taxpayers, by which we mean is it creating growth that makes Londoners' lives better? So what I hope to do in this opening statement is to support your inquiry by sharing how we answer that question, which I hope is then useful background for the rest of the conversation this morning. So I'll cover two things: what we do and whether we know that those things are making a difference. So the first question is whether we're doing the right things, by which we mean, are these the things that can have the biggest impact for the funding that we have? And we have two tests that we ask ourselves for this: scale and additionality. So can we do this on a scale that's big enough to actually move the needle on something in London? And is it something that we as Londoner partners can uniquely do and that adds to what's already happening out there? Those are the two tests we ask ourselves. So on scale, we look at the share of the markets that we operate in, and we want to make sure that that's meaningful on the scale of the London economy, which is obviously quite big. So, for example, in the 2 years we've run Grow London Local, we've supported about a fifth of all the vulnerable small businesses in London and about 1 in 20 of all of the SMEs that are actively trading. About half of all the international tech companies that land into London come through us, and about 1 in 5 of all the startups that go on to raise what's called a Series A, so the first kind of real scale-up round of venture capital, about a fifth of them have been through our programmes. And on tourism, our members own and operate about a quarter of all the hotel beds in London. So what that does is tell us that where we're operating in these areas, we have a market scale that's meaningful. And then additionality. So we look carefully at what's already happening so that we don't duplicate. So, for example, in the small business support space, we're focused on providing the single front door and navigation service, Grow London Local, because only we can do that as a pan-London neutral trusted agency, whereas there are lots of organisations that can and do provide really great actual business support directly to businesses in the community. So those two tests are why we work in the 4 areas that we do, and we've tried to, we do quite a lot of different things, and we've tried to simplify that into the 4 main areas in our new strategy. So those are strategy, which is about supporting the sectors and the places of the future to grow. Promotion, which is winning global audiences and global customers for London so that our businesses can grow and hire more local people. Investment, which creates jobs for Londoners and brings capital to build housing and regenerate town centres and build new infrastructure. And business growth, which supports London entrepreneurs to thrive regardless of where they are or who they are or what sector they're in. So we're confident that that's the right set of activities to make a difference, and we reassessed them recently as part of our new 3-year strategy. So then the next question is it making a difference? So even if we're doing the right things, are they having the impact they should be? One of the things I'm really passionate about is measurement and evaluation, and making sure that we're really robust in counting the additional difference we've made, not things that would have happened anyway. And if you're interested, we can have a longer conversation about methodology later. I won't bore you with it now, don't worry. So we are making a difference. There are thousands of Londoners, including hundreds in every single borough, who have got support for their small business that otherwise wouldn't have. We've generated additional growth in the London economy last year of £677 million. To put that in context, that's roughly equivalent to the annual GVA of the Excel Centre or the Spurs Stadium or the British Museum. Last year, we created over 8,000 jobs that wouldn't otherwise have existed, and we worked with a lot of those companies to connect them to sources of diverse talent so that all Londoners could have the opportunity to get those jobs. And last year, we supported over £500 million of new capital investment into different building projects across London, including, for example, new affordable housing development in Crystal Palace. So I hope that's a little bit of useful just background and scene setting for our conversation today. We genuinely really welcome your interest, happy to answer any questions. If there's anything we can't answer on the spot, we'll obviously write to you as soon as we can with the details. And I hope that after today, as many of you that are able will take up the opportunity to come and join us, come and visit a Coffee Friday or a Thursday Late, or be part of a cohort launch and meet the companies that we're supporting and see the work in real life. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Laura. So we're going to be touching on some of those key programmes, and you've answered some of the questions that probably would have been asking, but great starting point, so we can go into a bit more detail. I'm going to start off just with the Visit London and the promotion side of things. So clearly, London has done incredibly well in terms of tourism across globally, voted in terms of TripAdvisor's #1 city to visit in the world for this year, which is a phenomenal position to be in. Something that I've been championing and the committee has championed in terms of having a tourism tax introduced, tourism levy introduced in the next couple of years. What's been your feedback from the businesses that you've worked for? And you talked about the engagement you have with hotel owners and so on in terms of the potential introduction of that and their engagement with the consultation that's happening at the moment.
So the hoteliers, obviously working through their trade associations like UK Hospitality, are responding formally to that consultation. As London and partners, we are not taking a public policy position on the visitor levy, because whatever happens, it's really important that we continue to be a partner that can be trusted both by London government and by the industry to deliver what comes next. I think what is clear is that the tourism sector is really critical to the London economy, and what COVID showed us was that it's probably far more impactful than just the tourism spend itself, because the tourism spend supports our nightlife, our culture, our experiences that Londoners enjoy as well, and that without tourism it's difficult to sustain those experiences for Londoners as well. So I know that everyone in the industry wants to see tourism and more broadly the experience economy taken really seriously and invested in as a sector, and that's partly why it was one of the 5 priority sectors in the growth plan.
And do you get a sense of feeling of what they would want to see that money spent on to try and encourage further growth in tourism and the investment in the infrastructure that makes sure that people, when they do arrive in London, it's a great place to visit?
So again, I don't want to speak on behalf of them because they'll speak through their associations, but we know that the things that will drive the growth of the London experience economy are the visitor experience. And back in 2023, we worked with industry and with London government to create London's tourism vision for 2030, where everyone got together and said, what is it that we all collectively need to do to grow? And everyone said, it's the visitor experience, because that is what makes us competitive in the long term. And we've been working with them since then to try and improve that visitor experience and tackle some of the pain points. But the things that will grow the experience economy over the long term will be having strong demand, and for that, yes, you do need to do marketing to grow demand. Having the right mix of products, so what visitors and Londoners want to do changes over time. So, for example, we all know, I'm sure there's been a shift from retail towards experiences. People want to spend less time just buying things and more time doing things that create memories. So having the right kinds of experiences that people care about, having the best food and drink offer, having fantastic green spaces really matters to visitors, because wellness is much more front of mind, for example, for tourists. So that work on the product and then bringing that alive through big events is also important. And I know that industry feels strongly that being able to bring large-scale events into London, whether that's big sporting or cultural events through to big conventions that would be just down the road at the XL Centre, that's a really important driver of spend.
Fantastic. And in terms of some of those things that you've said will bring people in, and going back to the point about metrics and additionality, how have you been able to contribute towards some of that in the past year that has helped drive tourism up?
So in the past year, we've been working with through our convention bureau, major events teams, to bring in new events to London that otherwise wouldn't have come. And so that has generated GVA, and I'll find in my notes exactly how much. So that's been in the last year. And then alongside that, we've been working with places across London that want to grow their visitor economy. So helping them to bring in the experiences that they need. So, for example, and this is particularly outer London destinations. So, for example, looking at landing big new anchor attractions or bringing in hotels if they don't have many hotels in the area, working with organisations that want to build new venues or stadiums or attractions and bringing them into the city. And then alongside that, we have our ongoing consumer marketing to tourists, so our Visit London channels. So we have website and socials and an app, and so we're always out telling that London story to international tourists.
And as you were talking about some of the things that have changed, we've agreed the MDC for Oxford Street. A lot of the things that you've been talking about is the change that's required to make sure that Oxford Street is the premier shopping parade in the country, if not across Europe and globally. How is your knowledge and connections being used as part of the development of that corporation's strategy and direction?
Yeah, we're looking forward to working really closely with the corporation. Obviously, it's in the process of getting set up, but whenever we do surveys of international visitors, the West End is a brand that's really powerful. People internationally know the West End as a place and they want to go there and visit. It's a big part of the appeal. So having an Oxford Street that's putting its best foot forward, but also I'd say more broadly around the West End, Regent Street, Bond Street and the surrounding areas, is really critical because it's often the first place that people will visit. We don't want it to be the only place that they go. We're really keen that visitors also go and visit other parts of London, but the West End is often the front door.
And my final question before I pass on to colleagues was just, obviously used to have the European Social Fund, then it became the UK SPF. We know how important that job creation is, and in terms of supporting small businesses, startups, there's obviously a shift now with that disappearing in terms of the funding going directly through yourselves in terms of those key projects to deliver against those deliverables. What will that look like in this coming year, and what would happen if we didn't have that funding in place?
Thank you. Sorry, I'm also going to apologise. I'm losing my voice, which is not ideal for today. So this is something that we're obviously really concerned about. We know how much money has gone in through European funding, how much has gone in through UK SPF, both to London and Partners, but to London in general. For us, next year, we're very grateful the Mayor has confirmed funding for us to continue some of our key programmes, but we're not kind of letting that be the only thing we're thinking about. So the business support strategy is currently being drafted. My team are very, very busy at the moment trying to get that finished off before the pre-election period. But what we're trying to do within that is really bring together core funders of business support across the capital. We know that public funds are going to be significantly reduced. If not, there will be very, very little going into business support next year. But we also know that there are some significant funders that put huge amounts of money into this area. So we had a roundtable a couple of weeks ago with some of the big investors across London. I'm doing sort of bilateral with them. I met probably 4 or 5 last week. I've got that on rotation over the next couple of weeks to really ask them to come together, think about what they're funding. If we can provide an evidence base for what needs to be funded, can we really get them to channel that investment into London to support London's businesses?
Thank you very much. Pass on to Assemblymember Bukhari.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to just dig in a little bit more about the Grow London Local project. And you referred to the fact that you have been making some massive differences to small businesses recently. So I'd like to know a little bit more about what those significant differences have been. I presume the single front door approach has been one of the major approaches that you've seen a real difference. So what is the impact that has had? And also about the challenges that you've seen throughout the programme since you've set up, and if you've had to evolve and change direction slightly.
Great, thank you. I might start with the last one first, I think, actually. So I joined London Partners 2.5 years ago, partly to set up Grow London Local. When I joined, it was Grow London Local was a PowerPoint slide, I think, is what we started with. We had to really rapidly build that team to really set up and start delivering from the January in 2024. I'm going to get that right, 2024. we made some really conscious decisions about Grow London Local. We wanted it to be for the community and in the community. So setting up our team, we've brought in people from different parts of London. They work within their communities. They speak a range of languages. And we've really had to adapt, I think, some of the outreach that we thought we would do. Initially, we were very much like, oh, people will just come to us. Like, of course, why wouldn't they want business support and we can navigate them? Actually, what we really had to do was build really, really trusted relationships in some of the communities that we're working with. A lot of the communities we work in wouldn't necessarily look for business support. They probably need it. They're not trusting of the services that are out there. And I think the team have done a phenomenal job really building that trust in those communities. We work in mosques. We have teams that are in those communities. We go into learning centres. We are in FE colleges where we know that the people are in there. We've worked in various different community settings. And I think something like our Coffee Fridays, which I know many of you have come along to, and genuinely we love people coming to these. We started off with 4 across London once a month. They had about 4 or 5 people would turn up. It was nice and small in a local coffee shop or wherever we were. We had our last round of Coffee Fridays last month, and there were 60, 70 people across each one. They vary depending on what we're trying to do, but we've really, really built that community, and I think that shows that we've had real impact. We're trusted. We've had, just off the back of those Coffee Fridays, actually, the messages from people that have attended it, that have received support, telling other people. We're not asking them to do that. They are just putting those messages out there. So I think we're having real impact. In terms of volume, Laura said right at the beginning, we like to do things at scale. So whilst we started off very small, actually, we're over the last 2 years now. We've just celebrated our birthday, I think, last week. We've supported around 30,000 businesses across London. So we're delivering that at scale. We also know the support we're referring those businesses onto is what they're looking for. Around 54% of the businesses we've referred are accessing the support we've referred onto. Now, to put that into context, people often like to talk about Business Link for London. Why can't we bring Business Link back? Business Link did a similar job. They referred around 12%. So our sort of 53 against the 12% sort of benchmark is really, really powerful, showing that level of impact.
What specific feedback have you been getting about some of the challenges that they're having and how are you supporting them?
So it's really broad, I'd say. We are dealing with every type of small business. Sorry, I'm going to lose my voice again. We have had a lot more, and actually goes back to your first question about how we've adapted. We didn't expect the amount of wellbeing support to be required. It is incredibly, anyone that has run their own business or has family members, it's incredibly isolating, it's incredibly lonely. When we first started, we thought, oh, everyone will want digital marketing. Well, yes, they do. But actually, the power of networks, the power of support, peer-to-peer support, actually, that's what we found we're doing a lot of, sort of bringing people together to offer that support. A lot of mental health, well-being support as well has gone out. We also know that, I mean, that's been the surprise, I suppose, although it shouldn't have been a surprise, so we're doing a lot in that space. But there are sort of 4 critical things that every small business asks for. Marketing support. They want to know how to market their business. Technology is really changing that really, really rapidly, so how can we have that support? Finance. I don't think there's a small business owner ever that hasn't wanted money in some way or other. And we're really thinking about how we can support that over the next year, actually, through the business support strategy. How do we support debt, equity, finance? And the other thing is sort of general business planning to support their businesses.
How do you make sure you're not doubling up on what local councils are doing? There are supportive groups within councils already that are doing very similar roles.
So we do not offer direct support. So the team that I have are out there navigating to the support that is offered by boroughs, by councils, by other private providers. Over the last 2 years, I hope we have built up really strong relationships with those boroughs. I think we have. And we like to know about the products that they're putting out. We like to know about the things they're doing. And we like to connect. So actually, again, using the Coffee Fridays is a good example. We often invite the boroughs along to that. We have officers there. We often have leaders that come along as well. They're in their communities. We want those people involved. So I don't think we're in a position of really duplicating activity. What we are trying to do is offer a referral network into the support that's offered by others. And we are quite clear that we aren't offering that support directly. We know people that can support.
Thank you. Assemblymember Best.
Thank you. I wanted to come on to something that I'm quite jealous about, and that's the Deputy Mayor's trip recently to San Francisco. So could you tell me what was the cost of that trip and how many staff went and who paid?
Thank you. I don't have the cost of the trip on me, but very happy to write and share that. Staff that went with him from London was one, I believe, but he was also supported by some of our North America team that are based, obviously, in San Francisco.
So one person went from London and partners from London. Obviously, there's already offices in eight offices in San Francisco. Did anyone from the GLA go as well?
No.
Or the Mayor office? Okay. And do you know who paid?
London and partners paid.
Okay, for the cost of everyone to go.
Let me write to you. I believe so, but let me write to you to check just so I don't say the wrong thing.
Okay. Could you advise on the outcomes of that trip?
Sure. So the purpose of the trip was twofold. One was to win and build life sciences investment relationships, and the other was broader tech in the San Francisco Bay Area. So the reason that the trip happened then was to coincide with the world's biggest life sciences investment event, which is called JP Morgan Healthcare, and happens that week every year in San Francisco. And at that event, all of the sort of big global life sciences investors gather, and it's the big deal-making moment of the year. So the reason to go there was twofold, to go to JP Morgan Week. One was to meet life sciences investors directly and talk to them about opportunities in London, and they had a number of meetings on that front. But the second was also to promote London Life Sciences Week, which we are wanting to build into the European equivalent of JP Morgan Healthcare. So also met a number of cluster organisations and ecosystem organisations that would bring delegations next year to London Life Sciences Week to try and build that up. So that was the purpose of the 3 days that they spent at that conference in San Francisco. And then they went and did broader meetings with tech companies in Silicon Valley, who we have been actively targeting to come and invest in London. So these are all live foreign direct investment leads or recent foreign direct investment wins across things like AI and quantum that our team in San Francisco have been working with for several months. We wouldn't expect to see any direct results so quickly. That visit was only last month. The average lead time on a foreign direct investment win is about 18 months. So we will absolutely be able to demonstrate outcomes when they come through, but it's just too soon. That's not the way that these deals work.
So would you say it was a value for money trip?
Yes, I think it will be a value for money trip. We'll have to wait and see the outcomes over the fullness of time. But because we have teams locally, they had lots of live leads that we could get him in front of quickly, which makes a big difference.
So you think it was a value for money trip?
Yes.
What was the value of the trip?
I'll have to write to you and give you the detail.
It's clearly impossible to say something's value for money when you don't know how much you spent on it. The other point I wanted to raise quickly was obviously London and Partners does a lot of work in America with a number of offices, and the Deputy Mayor having taken a trip out there recently. Obviously there's a FOI at the moment thanks to discuss the previous US Ambassador Peter Mandelson's government work. Can you say categorically that he did not meet with the Deputy Mayor or do any work with London and Partners?
No, I can't say that categorically. We'd have to go and check and write to you.
Do you think that that could have happened?
It's possible. We meet with ambassadors and consul generals and trade commissioners all over the world.
If that is the case, will London and Partners, and as well, I imagine the Deputy Mayor, but a question separately for him, will the London and Partners be upfront and transparent about any documentation or exchange of messages relating to that?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember Georgie.
Thank you. I would have wanted that to carry on a bit longer, but anyway, no particular reason. Thank you both for coming today. Laura, LLDC has tried for many years to secure a sponsor for the London Stadium with no success. Has LNP been drafted in to help with this?
Not to my knowledge.
Never been asked, hinted at. Mayor's never mentioned it, or any of his deputy mayors?
Not specifically. We work with the Olympic Stadium quite a lot on securing events for the stadium. So we've worked with them, for example, on things like the NFL, which takes place there, which is obviously really important to the revenue to try and make the stadium financially sustainable. But to the best of my knowledge, again, I'd like to go away and check to make sure that we're being accurate. We've not worked proactively on sponsorship.
I mean, given that the Mayor gives you a lot of taxpayer money and London and Partners is convinced that, you know, London's economy wouldn't survive without this organisation, I mean, do you think following this meeting you will go away and perhaps speak to the Mayor's team or Deputy Mayor and say, well, why don't you ask us to get involved in this to find a sponsor?
I'm very happy to have that conversation with the Mayor's office, but I'm also clear that we have a clear set of activities that we deliver, where we have staff that are specialist and trained to do those things, and we have really clear ability to measure the outcomes from them. We're not a sponsorship organisation. That's not the bread and butter of what we do. So whilst, of course, we'd be really happy to make introductions if that were to occur, I wouldn't say that it's the thing that we've been set up to do. It's not core mandate. And so there might be other organisations that are potentially better placed to support with that.
No, I mean, it's failed so far. I guess my question is more aimed at you. When in your opening statement, you made very clear that you believe that your organisation has led to the increase of, 8,000 jobs, a certain amount of GVA in London, which we'll get onto later. So I appreciate you're not a sponsorship organisation, but in your initial statement, you said we've been responsible for X, Y, and Z companies and employers investing into and contributing to London's economy. So I failed to, and I appreciate you're not saying this, but I would strongly recommend that you do go to the Mayor and his team and say, well, why haven't you asked us about this? We could perhaps get you some outside investment.
Happy to do that.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Chair.
Assembly Member Prince.
Thank you, Chair. Just to help you a bit, Laura, if I can. Good morning. Good morning, Michelle. Are you aware that the anchor tenant, West Ham United Football Club, have consistently, throughout their entire tenure, offered to work with London Stadium with a view to secure a sponsor, and consistently London Stadium have refused to work with West Ham, being adamant that they were able to secure the money on their own? So would that make you mindful of the fact that they may not want to actually work with you?
It's possible. As I said, I haven't been involved in the commercial sponsorship conversations about the stadium.
Yeah. I just felt that perhaps it is a little unfair to ask you to do something that you're not good at, whilst historically London Stadium rejected offers from an organisation that is very good at getting sponsorship. Thank you.
All right, game in two halves, so we'll now move on to Assembly Member Russell.
Thank you very much. So just picking up on your strategy, the new strategy for 25 to 28, what difference do you think the strategy is making to London and Partners' work and impact?
Thank you. So we are coming to the end of the first year of the strategy, and I think the difference it's making so far, I'd point at probably three particular things. The first is the sectors that we're focused on. So as part of the strategy, we are doubling down on the sectors where we expect the greatest growth in the future, in the long term, and that's aligned to the growth plan. So that's about putting more emphasis onto what we would call the frontier innovation sectors like life sciences, quantum, AI, robotics. They've always been sectors that we've worked in, but probably weren't at the forefront in the same way. So we've been really looking at putting additional investment there, additional resource there to secure more investment in those sectors. There are also sectors which take longer because they're quite nascent. So whereas we have sectors like fintech, for example, where you can win investment fairly quickly because those are quite mature sectors, we're doing a lot of work with the organisations that build those, that nurture those sectors in London to really grow them for the future so that we remain competitive, because we want to be creating growth today, but it's really important that we're looking to the future and saying, what's the future economy going to look like? So I think that piece around sectors is a big change for us. The second area is how we think about doing our promotion work, which is one of the four pillars of our strategy. So in the past, we've always promoted London internationally, but we've very much done it ourselves through our own channels like Visit London, or working with the tourism industry on the Let's Do London campaign, or through things like London Tech Week. The shift for us is from trying to do all of the storytelling ourselves to really convening and coordinating London's advocates to go out and tell the story to their own audiences. So it's that shift from being a storyteller by ourselves to leading that team of storytellers, if you can think about it that way. Because London has amazing soft power. There are so many brands and organisations and businesses in London that have incredible global influence. But we need to get everybody singing from the same hymn sheet, if you like, having consistent messaging and in a coordinated way out promoting London together. So we're really shifting a lot of the emphasis of our promotion work towards doing that convening and coordinating work. So I'd say that's a second change. And the third change I would look at is how we're working with local places within London. And this also follows from the growth plan. While places have always been implicit because investment goes implicitly to a place and businesses that we support are in a place, we're working much more proactively with local boroughs, but other placemakers like developers and landlords, for example, to say, what's your vision for your place? What are the sectors that you want to grow? Who are the key investors that you need in order to do that? And being much more deliberate and proactive in how we're working with local places across London. So I think those are three examples of what's changed for us this year.
Okay, and in the London Growth Plan, it's very clear that growth cannot and must not come at the expense of the natural environment. It also is very clear about wanting to have sort of safer, fairer, greener and more prosperous London. So in terms of sectors, promotion and local places, how are you ensuring that the work of London and Partners is supporting that aim for a greener London?
Thank you. I think there's two key ways. One is growing the green innovation sectors of the economy, and the other is work attracting capital investment into infrastructure for decarbonisation. So I think those would be the two different ways. So London is really, really good at green innovation, things like climate tech and prop tech and clean energy and developing new materials that have less impact on the planet. And as part of our work on frontier innovation, that's really a priority sector. So we want to grow that sector in London by winning more high growth companies from around the world to come and have offices here and do research here and hire local people here, and also supporting, really importantly, London-based green innovators to grow their businesses, hire more people. Because if they're growing, that means more people are using their products, and that's a good thing from a sustainability perspective. And then the other side is looking at much more the urban fabric of London and what we need to do to decarbonise the city at scale. So that's looking at, for example, district heat networks and how we can bring in international private capital to support heat networks. It's around the regeneration of some of our major transport infrastructure and other bits of infrastructure which will support decarbonisation. So I think those are the two.
Mm-hmm. And so so just digging in on the local places piece and working with local boroughs and developers and landlords, there's a lot of very small micro businesses in London. And how do you make sure that they're not left behind, but also that the places that some of those businesses happen in don't just disappear because they get, everything gets swept away, and actually you've got businesses that are actually very resilient, have a very local network of people that they're serving, but then you can end up with a load of new stuff coming in and all of that gets lost. So how are you making sure that those resilient, very small businesses are enabled to thrive despite all this other stuff that's bringing in helpful investment?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really important question. I'll answer it partly, but you might want to come in as well, Michelle. So I think that the principal way that happens is through the planning system rather than through what we do, and that planning has a really important role in protecting spaces for local businesses and obviously sets the requirement for new development on what space they have to offer to community activity at discounted, affordable workspaces and so on. So all of that is usually negotiated through the planning system. It's not something that we would regulate. But what we absolutely will do and do is then work with places to support the local businesses in a community around a development, because it's important that they remain resilient. Of course it is. And where we've got new spaces coming on board, so for example, we're working with Places for London who are bringing out some new arches that they're bringing back into service. We're working with them to find local businesses in the community that would like to set up in those arches so that they can benefit from that regeneration and from that development.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add as well is obviously this is where some of our work all comes together. So Grow London Local, which looks after those micro businesses, we have various resources within our website. We refer on to various providers that help with decarbonisation, help them with finding space. So really it's how our teams come together and connect all of this.
Okay, so yes, so those kind of coffee Fridays, I'm sorry, I'm not on the economy committee, so I haven't been to one of those, but those are for small businesses to come along to and get support and networking.
Yes, absolutely. So we do a range of different activities. Coffee Fridays is one of them. Coffee Fridays happen the last Friday of every month. They are for micro, small businesses, some people that haven't started a business that are starting to think about starting a business, others that are very well established. They're held in local community settings, so they're held in coffee shops or community centres. So we're putting that sort of back into those communities. And really they're a place for networking. We usually do sort of some opening sessions with maybe a theme, sometimes talking about different things. And we also have our local authority colleagues, some of our providers will come along and help to connect the system. We also do other things. So we do late, which is the same, but over a drink in the evening, and that happens once a month. And also we have a series of Meet the Founder, where we have business founders from different types of communities. Most recently we had one with disabled founders, where again we're bringing those people together to provide that support, and we found that that's incredibly effective. We've also found through our work on the business support strategy that one of the things that's most asked for is business mentoring, not actually traditional business mentoring, which is what we thought we would be looking at, but that more mentoring of a peer that's maybe 6 months ahead of you, that's gone through that experience. What have they learned? How can you connect?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then finally, earlier on, Laura, you were talking about the importance of experiences, and particularly you mentioned green spaces and wellness. And I just wondered, because there's lots of work going on in London that's pretty innovative, beavers and kind of being reintroduced and storks. But I just wondered, sort of what... if you could say a bit more about that work that you're doing to sort of promote the kind of the green spaces, the places that people love, that actually aren't necessarily about about people even spending money, because you can go and wander around on Hampstead Heath or Wanstead Flats and you're not going to be necessarily spending money, but you are enjoying London. So I just wondered what you've got to say about those.
Green spaces are such an important part of what attracts visitors to London. And for a big global city, London is really exceptionally green. And when we do research with visitors, it's one of the big drivers that brings them to London, probably more even than we expected. And so since we launched that tourism vision and then later the visitor experience strategy, we've been featuring a lot more green spaces in our marketing material, because we know that it's an important driver. So our teams will be out creating content about London's wonderful green spaces, and we're making sure that we're telling that story alongside, obviously, fantastic food and shopping and museums and galleries and all the other brilliant things that you can do in London. For us, green spaces is a really core part of that offer. And you're right, there are fantastic green spaces all over London, and we want to make sure that we can use those green spaces to encourage visitors to go further and to visit places that maybe otherwise they wouldn't have. And whilst, yes, they might not have to spend money to visit the green space, what we hope is that maybe they'll then have a coffee somewhere locally, and they will spend money in that local economy, even if they don't have to pay to go onto the park or the wetland or whatever it is.
OK, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblymember Bakari.
Thank you. I just want to focus on the particular area of convening for collective action part of your strategy. And in your analysis, it'll be quite interesting to know whether you're still having to deal with the lasting impacts of Brexit on growth, and whether that's impacting any type of focus on your in terms of your messaging, continuing forward in terms of how you relate to the rest of the globally in your work.
So when we speak to most businesses in most sectors, I wouldn't say that Brexit is top of mind anymore. It's not something that comes up particularly regularly in our conversations, because I think it's obviously reshaped our regulatory environment. To some extent, it's reshaped our trading environment. But businesses tend to tackle the challenge that's in front of them, and they tackled the Brexit challenge when it happened. If it affected them because they had to change the way they did their paperwork, or they needed to change who they traded with, they've probably done that. There are others who are much better placed than me to comment on what the macro impacts of Brexit has been on overall growth in the UK or the London economy, and there's lots of studies published on that. But I wouldn't say that it's featuring day to day in our messaging, whereas if we go back a few years, a lot of businesses were asking us for very specific advice. Brexit, does it mean I need to change my data protection? Do I need to change my tax? Do I need to open an office in the EU to keep trading? I feel like that real intensity of needing quite practical advice on how to deal with it, that has mostly now probably abated. Obviously, for international investors that are coming into the market, they want, if you're coming from outside of Europe, so you're coming from America or from India, and you're looking at getting into the European market, you'll be thinking, do I need a presence in the UK and a presence in the European Union, or can I service the whole of the European Union from a UK office? We always will want to be making the case that you should make the UK or London your primary office for the Europe region or the Europe Middle East region, because obviously that secures more growth here. So we try to help investors to understand that it's actually quite easy to trade, and that there are ways that if you get the right advice, you work with the right lawyers and the right accountants, that you can put your European headquarters in London, and many businesses do choose to do that.
What about discussions about the customs union? Is that something that's coming up at all?
So the vast majority of businesses that we support are services businesses, those that trade internationally. So very few of the Grow London local businesses would be trading internationally. They mostly trade within London. Of the businesses that are trading internationally, so those on our Grow London Global programme, the vast majority of those are trading in services rather than in goods. So for them, the single market would be very relevant, but potentially the customs union a bit less so.
And lastly, I'd like to know about the success, if you can tell us in a bit more detail about the Mayor's trade mission to Africa in the summer of 2025.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So the Mayor, as you know, went on a trade mission to Africa, and we organised the Grow London Global delegation aspect, so the business delegation aspect of that. We are tracking what the longer-term outcomes of that will be, because, as I said previously, it takes a while for deals to land, but we're seeing some really promising early signs, really good conversations happening, new partnerships being done. The thing I would really like to emphasise, though, is that trade missions on their own don't drive growth, and that's why our programme puts trade missions within a 12-month programme of broader support. Because if you just take a business to another market and you put them in front of a potential customer, that's one thing, and maybe they can land a deal. But what actually really matters and where they'll really get growth is, have they actually got an international strategy in the first place? Have they thought about which markets they need to target and why and how they prioritise them? Do they understand the regulatory environment that they're even allowed to trade there? Have they got a legal entity that if they could win a contract, they would even be allowed to service it? Do they understand what the local tax is required? How are they going to hire people to deal with that client? Are they going to put them in that country, or are they going to service it from London? How are they going to raise the capital that they might need to expand in order to operate in that country? And how are we supporting them to win venture capital or debt funding to do that? So a trade mission is one thing in isolation, but it doesn't tend to work nearly as effectively as if you put it as part of a wider programme of support. And that's one of the things that really differentiates our approach on Grow London Local from other programmes that others run, which are very much just, come on, get on a plane, do a mission, come back. it's much harder to generate outcomes from that because you're not doing the wraparound support that companies need. And that's why we report on the growth outcomes of the programme rather than outcomes from specific trade missions, because we don't think that that's exclusively where you get the value.
Are you able to share costings with us about how much all this, the impact that it all, the cost of actually doing this, and then the impact that it will have in the long term?
For the Africa Trade Mission or for the whole programme?
You can do the whole programme if you like, if that's
Sure.
possible.
So I can certainly share that with you. Sorry, let me find the costs for Grow London Global. I can certainly share that it's generating a really good return if you look at the cost against the GVA against it. Sorry, let me find it in my very large pack of pieces of paper. So Grow London Global. Oh, sorry, it's too small for me. So on Grow London Global alone last year, and that excludes some of the other things that we do to support those companies, we spent 1.18 million, and the GVA against it was, let me find it, apologies, 484 million. Now, I wouldn't try and use that as a direct ROI calculation because obviously there's lots of overhead that goes to support that programme as well. That's the pure programme cost, but they're supported by a wider team. And there's also team salary costs. But we can write to you with the total programme cost against £484 million of GVA. It would be a very significant return. And where other organisations have run similar export programmes targeting scale-ups particularly, we know that those have generated lower GVA against cost ratios than what we're doing at the moment on Grow London Global. And we can write to you with those benchmarks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, that'd be useful for each of the programmes, actually, and the benchmarks beside those. Assembly Member McCartney.
Yeah, thank you. I've been to one of your Friday coffee mornings, and I thought it was very good. I was expecting people to sit there and taking advice that was given, and actually there was a lot of networking and lots of micro and small businesses offering services to each other and growing a local economy that way, which I thought was really interesting. But my question is about global, I suppose. It's about the reputation of London, and I know most people don't live on social media, but when you have, for example, the President of the United States saying that London has been taken over and dismissing Europe as a place to do business or to live, saying, European cities have been lost. Is that making your job harder? And are you having to mitigate some of your or spend in different ways than you expected?
Yes, it's making our job harder. And yes, we're having to do different things. I wouldn't say it's yet changing how we spend, but it's definitely shaping what our activity might look like. So we hear from a lot of investors, particularly, it's in particular markets, particularly those in Asia and the Gulf, a lot of concerns about safety in London, which whilst nobody here is going to pretend that there is zero crime in London, the impression that they have got of London from social media, having not visited ever or for a very long time, is really disproportionate to what the reality of London is. And that matters because they're saying, how does that affect my investment decision? We hear from university vice-chancellors, for example, that they're concerned that potentially concerns about safety might be impacting student recruitment numbers. So I think the perception of London as a place that is welcoming and safe does matter to how we win global audiences. And our response has been to go through Team London and just to share facts. So we have been sharing facts on London's crime statistics, what's been happening with those, how they compare to cities in the US and Europe, for example. And then those Team London advocates of London have then been using those. Some of them have chosen to do that publicly, but others have been using them privately when they're working directly with their customers or investors or their audiences to try to present a picture of London that is realistic. As I said, we're very clear that crime must be addressed, and that's really important. But what we want to do is to put it into perspective and to challenge where we feel that there are perceptions which are really not related to the reality of what's happening.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. Assembly Member Best.
Thank you. Just wanted to come on to some questions around funding, and starting off on the transition away in April 2026 from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, which obviously has lent some significant amount of funding to London and Partners in the past. The government have stated that the move to the new fund, which will replace the Local Growth Fund, is going to be targeted at the North and the Midlands, which even by my definition of everything being outside the M25 is the North, is not going to include us. So unlikely to get any of that money. What are your contingency plans or the plans you've put in place for them?
Thank you. We're really grateful that the Mayor has chosen to support our ongoing work by increasing our core grant to make up most but not all of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund funding, and that means we can continue our core services of Grow London Local and Grow London Global as we've been talking about today. And then alongside that, we are looking, as we always do, for alternative sources of funding that we can raise so that we can continue to deliver all of our work. So if you looking forward, obviously we're trying to have less of a reliance on the GLA for funding. This is going in the direction of more. And I think, is it about, I'll try and look, but is it 20 million your commercial funding? What's your commercial funding, sorry? Commercial income. Other non-GLA grant funding? Mm-hmm. Yeah, non-GLA grant funding this year, commercial about just under 3 million, and then other about 1.2, so total 3.2.
Okay, so 3.2, sorry. 20%, not 20 million. That would be great if you were getting... Okay,
yeah, I'd love that.
Sorry. Okay, the concern I have there is that obviously some of your additional figures that you've reported is bringing 4 billion into the UK economy, creating 100,000 jobs. That's a kind of commercial growth and knowledge that would bring in a lot more commercial funding. I would suggest that you would be able to get a lot more self-funded if you were able to do that. So not only does it make me concerned about whether those figures that have been portrayed to us on the success are accurate, but it also makes me concerned about going forward and looking at sustainability or your goal of growing sustainably.
Thank you. We mostly raise commercial funding by leveraging grant, by which I mean we use grant to do activities and then businesses pay to participate in those activities in different ways. So in many ways, the amount of commercial funding we raise is proportionate to the amount of grant we have. So if we have more grant, we can do more, and there's more that businesses can pay to take part in. If we have less grant, we do less, and there's less that they can pay to participate in. We're really clear that we operate as a social enterprise, which means we're a mission-driven organisation, and everything we do should be connected to our mission. So we don't want to raise commercial funding by doing things which are completely irrelevant of our mission and just distract our energy and our resources. We don't think that's good value for money for London taxpayers.
But isn't your mission promoting London and bringing money into London?
Yes, and so we have hundreds of partners who pay to take part in that. So, for example, over the last couple of years, we have significantly increased the number of partners and the amount that our partners are contributing, bringing on really big companies like HSBC Innovation Banking has come on as a new partner. CBRE, the real estate agents, have come on as a partner. KPMG, one of the big four accountants, has come on as a partner. JC Deco, who do the outdoor advertising. These are big companies that are choosing to pay to participate in what we do and to support what we do. And we're always looking at how we can grow that further. And I think through our new approach to promotion and the Team London approach, that should create new opportunities for new kinds of businesses to take part in it. Where we do work that's very directly linked to specific businesses, like the capital investment work we do through Opportunity London, that's actually 80% plus funded by businesses that are paying for that service.
But London and Partners in itself is 77% funded by the GLA. Is it an ambition that hopefully it won't be another 4 years before you come back here, but next time you're back here, that figure is much lower?
We haven't stated that as an ambition because our role is to be in a place where we're tackling a market failure. If there wasn't a market failure, you wouldn't need to put grant in to support it. What we're trying to do is to use grant to tackle a market failure and then add to that with commercial income so that we can do more for the grant we have. If we were able to fund everything we do purely through commercial income, I'd argue that probably we wouldn't need to exist because the market could probably just go out and do what we do.
But then also, if on the flip side, you say that you've created £4 billion within the London economy and you've created 100,000 jobs, then you are that successful. There isn't a market failure. You are adding that value. And to be honest, if I was in an industry and I was like, oh my goodness, these people create billions of pounds of growth and they create jobs, yes, I will fund them. Yes, I will work with them if they can get me through that door and they can create those opportunities. So the two seem to be contrary to each other.
Addressing the market failures is what creates the growth. So, for example, if a scaling company doesn't know how to raise investment, they can't grow. We can support them by helping them to understand who their potential investors might be and how they can pitch, and that will then help them to secure that and then grow. Similarly,
and if you're good at it, people will pay you to do it.
So we can look at who we're charging, and we're looking again at who we're charging for what types of services, but we also want to make sure that we're being inclusive and representative in who we can support. And if we put up barriers by charging, for example, local small businesses in the community, they won't participate in the activity. So I'm very willing, and we are constantly looking for new ways to generate new sources of income outside of the GLA grant. But I'm not going to sit here and say, I think that we could run London and Partners without grant. It doesn't have to be GLA grant, but without grant, because we are doing work that inherently the market itself isn't prepared to do.
But there's a difference between having 77% of your work funded by the GLA when it used to be 60%. There's a difference between that and saying we don't want any grant funding. And you can't kind of throw out the, well, we can't charge small businesses when, like you said, you were going to the JP healthcare medicine, because that's not the small businesses. You're going to the healthcare and tech leaders of the world for investment. So if you're working with those kind of clients, those are the sort of clients, I'd say if London and Partners is really bringing their investment in, well, we should also be seeing that the GLA isn't giving you all that money when I'm sure you're aware the GLA and that the services under the GLA, the Met, are losing funding this year. That's what's the concern to most people. I mean, what you're funded from the GLA would, for example, keep my police station front counter over 20 times over, you know? That's the concern.
Okay. And I mean, there's obviously a connection there between innovation and startups, and obviously the big corporates that, you know, are always looking for those startups to come up with the innovation and ideas that then get sucked up into big business and corporation. Very, very quick question from Assembly Member Bukhari before we finish.
Yes, I just want to know whether there's been any discussions with the Mayor and yourself that potentially the tourist levy could be a funding source for your work.
So as I said earlier, we have not taken a public position on the visitor levy, but we'll be really happy to work both with the Mayor and with boroughs and with industry, if there is a visitor levy, to support the growth of the sector.
Okay, thank you very much. We've now reached the end of our... sorry. Okay.
For someone who's followed your organisation over the last 20 odd years and seen it change, grow, contract, can I thank you for the way that you spoke to us? And I understand that things have changed and the way the grant has been used to fund extra activities. I get that. In answer to an earlier question around that, what I'm surprised you didn't tell us is about the checks and balances now, to avoid some of the scandals that were associated. The reason why we've not seen so much of you since 2021 is you've got your house in order. Under the previous Conservative Mayor, overseas trips, the Akuri affair, always dragged you back to answer questions about your activities around that. And the member was right to ask questions because it is about the accountability process to make sure that we receive value for money and that the trips are being carried out in the right way and the appropriate way, and we follow the best practice in terms of overseas trips. So I just want to say that. But I do want to echo and thank you for the way that you've addressed this today. I'm glad I don't have to follow your activities as much as I did in the past.
Thank you, Lord Duval, for that.
The Mayor doesn't write anything for me, as you know, Assembly Member Prince.
We have the benefit of 25 years of experience in Lord Duval, who's seen it under successive mayors. So, again, thank you so much, Laura and Michelle, for your time this morning and for your answers. There may be some more questions we'll put in writing, but it just shows the level of interest in terms of the work that you're doing. And I think it'd be great if you could extend those invites to those coffee mornings and so on, and other events within our constituencies in the future. It'd be fantastic. If we're going to just ask members if we've just note the report that we've got in terms of putting questions to the invited guests, and delegate authority to myself as chair in consultation with the deputy and group leads to agree any output arising from the discussion. Yeah, okay, great. We will take a very short break. I'm sorry, actually, I've got to do this now, haven't I? So can I ask the committee to approve, in principle, the draft timetable for London Assembly and committee meetings for the 26-27 year? Noting, obviously, it will be agreed finally at the annual meeting. Can I also ask the committee to note its work programme for 25-26 and the membership of the Chief Officer panel? Can I ask the committee to agree to appoint Alex Wilson AM to the Chief Officer Performance Review panel for the remainder of the Assembly year? The next 88 days or so. Date of the next meeting scheduled on the 12th of March, 10 AM in this location and chamber at City Hall. No other urgent business, so I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.